On this very day, December 17th, back in 2017, I made a decision by accident that completely saved me from having to experience my first bear market. On this day, I sold my entire crypto portfolio, and it wasn't because I thought the top was in. In fact, I had no real trading skills at all, and my only reason for selling was because I was running 4 companies and I couldn't find time for crypto, which at the time was just my hobby. A few days later, Bitcoin started crashing, and it turns out that day was the 2017 cycle high, with Bitcoin topping out at around $20,000. A little over a year later, I came back to crypto and Bitcoin was now $4,000. And I thought to myself, well, if it's been $20,000 before, it can be $20,000 again. And $4,000 sounded like a steal to me. By this time, my life had changed a lot, and I decided that this time I was going to play full out and treat crypto as more than just a hobby. The reason I tell you this is because as Bitcoin made new highs overnight and ETH tested its very strong weekly resistance at 4,100, it got me thinking about how people often chase the big green candles that are already there, as opposed to forward thinking and looking for what is most likely to move next. This often leaves the late market participants as the ones that get liquidated during the hype. And that is exactly what today's video is going to be about. We're going to take a general look at the crypto market, focus on ETH and the lessons to learn from that, and then I'm going to show you what I think will move next and why, so that you can be in before it happens. So if you're new here, welcome. I'm Annie and this is Trade Travel Chill. Be sure to hit the like button nice and early for the YouTube algorithm, and hit subscribe if not already subscribed so that you can be notified every time I upload a new video. Now let's take a look at the market overall so that we can see where capital is currently favoring. I've got on my chart here the 4 dominances. Now the one I'm going to focus on first is the Bitcoin dominance right here, and we can see that currently we're moving up to test the 50 EMA. This is one area that we need to look for rejection. So at the time of filming this video, there's still a long time to go before the daily candle closes, but we do have a wick at the 50 EMA right now. So we'll be looking for tomorrow's open to see if we actually have a rejection of that 50 EMA. If we do, we would expect that the Bitcoin dominance will start to head down next, creating that lower high. And if so, that means that we're likely to see capital either move back into stable coins, which would not be ideal, or into our altcoins, which is what we're all hoping for. Now, if the dominance does break through that 50 EMA and keep moving to the upside, the next area that I would watch for rejection would be around this red vector candle right here. So that's somewhere between about 58.3 to 60% region. And if we did push up through there and we saw some weakness somewhere in that red candle that created another lower high, then again, it's the same story. It just means that capital's moving into Bitcoin for a little bit longer. And if we reject there, then that will be our time to start shifting our focus towards altcoins. When we look at the USDT dominance, it's still currently holding support. It does look like it wants to break, and that is what we need. We want to see this actually break down because it's going to show that there is still confidence in crypto. I think it's inevitable and I think it's a matter of time. It just hasn't happened yet, so it is worth pointing out. This support level right here at about 3.82% is what we want to see break next. Moving on to the others dominance. So others is the total market cap minus the top 10. So it's basically all your altcoins. And this is what we want to pay attention to so that we kind of get to know how far down the altcoin list is it safe to go. We did have this retest. So after we broke out through here, I had marked this level here at around the 10.47% for a retest. And we did wick right into that level right here. But because it was such a fast wick out of it, I'm not sure if I actually said this on YouTube or if I only said it in the Discord community, but what I had warned to wait for after that week was for a H pattern, which looks like that is what is forming now. And so a H pattern is essentially just revisiting a zone where we wicked into previously but moved fast out of. So that's what I believe is happening right now. And what I want to see is from pretty much where the dominance is right now down to around about this 50 EMA and 200 EMA kind of level. I want to see it hold anywhere there. And if it does, that's where I would expect that this will happen next, which is great for your altcoins, means that money's shifting into your altcoins and they should continue moving up further. Being the daily chart, this will take time. So far, this part of the curve has taken 8 days. So it could take a few more days for us to actually settle there. We need to have confidence that that's where it wants to hold before we start believing believing that this part of it is going to happen next. So it's clear right now that all eyes are on Bitcoin as it continues to create new highs, but just how high can it go? Funding rates have all reset after last week's leverage flush out, and the liquidations keep happening to the upside as people keep trying to pick the top and open short positions. I mean, all this really does is give the bulls more and more ammunition to keep driving the price higher. So we can see here that we do have all of this liquidity available above the price up to about the 120k region, and that 120 is a pretty significant number for me, and I'm going to show you why. Zooming out to Bitcoin on the weekly chart, what I've done here is I've drawn a trend-based fibs back from the March 2020 low, that was the absolute bottom of the bear market of that cycle, to the peak of the last cycle where we topped out at around 69, and I've dragged that out to this current cycle. So what we can see in this cycle so far is that we've passed the 100% area, we've passed the 127 just, and we're making our way up to the 161.8, and that area, if we make it there, lines up to about the $121,000 region. Now I wouldn't put that as an exact number, I usually mark an entire area around there, so somewhere between around 116 to 125k, let's say. But once you identify that, if you can see liquidity there, which we can see when we use Hyblock here, then it does mean that the bulls have what they need to be able to drive price up to that region. Now I can't say when we would reach that, but I do think that that seems to make sense as the next major target for Bitcoin. And the other thing too about it is when we have a look at the current limit orders in Trading Light for spot positions, and the reason I'm interested in spot positions is because I want to know where longer term investors are looking to take profit. If I zoom out, we can see the highest zone above price is sitting here at about 120,000. Now I do have to warn you, however, that there are also sells at 110,000. So if we make it up to 110, it's possible that there is some sort of either a rejection, I don't think a crazy rejection. It depends on the funding rates at the time. So as we get closer, I will update you if I think that the warning signals are kind of flaring off. But otherwise, it could just be where we have a little pullback, we consolidate for a little bit, we build up a little bit more steam, and then eventually we break through and we end up somewhere at around that 120k. But the way that I see it is as long as people keep trying to short the top of Bitcoin and providing that liquidity and the funding rates stay, you know, kind of fairly neutral, it could be quite possible that we will see 120k Bitcoin sometime soon. Before we move on, let me just quickly tell you about ZoomX, an awesome derivative non-KYC exchange. Traders seeking a clean interface, smooth experience, and top-tier liquidity will like this one. This platform is fully dedicated to giving you the best derivative trading experience. With over 365 futures tokens, they are running an easy-to-join campaign for users wanting to check out the platform. Sign up using the link in the description of this video to receive a 20% discount on your trading fees. In addition to that, if you complete simple tasks, you will receive tickets for the lottery. What can you win in the lottery? Well, there's free Solana, USDT, and higher trading discounts, but be quick as it's limited to the first 150 registrations. The link to join is in the description of this video. So let's take a look at ETH. Last night, ETH tested a very strong weekly resistance here at around the 4100 region before having this pullback right here. This gave us a new cycle high. Being a very strong weekly resistance, it's natural to expect that there would be some initial rejection there. When we zoom out on ETH, we can see even back to the last cycle, it was a fairly strong resistance. It's acted as resistance once here, twice here, and then a third time last night. So many traders would have had short positions opened most likely at this resistance level, and that could be why we saw this bit of a sell-off after and we didn't break through on the first attempt. That is completely normal, but what I want to show you about that is have a look at this. As the hype was building, we had the fast move up here in the dead gap zone that opened the week. Then we had a pullback back to the US settle price from the Friday before, and then the US session drove the price up to that weekly resistance level. Now, at this point in time is where the absolute most latest longs jump on. They think that as we're approaching resistance with this speed, it's going to break out, and if they don't get in, they're going to miss out. And so they open positions at the absolute worst time, and those people are always the first to get liquidated. And you can see that right here with this orange line and these two red lines here. These were the liquidity that built as this move up was happening. So these were liquidation levels of open positions that opened here at the worst possible time. And then, as you can see, this pullback came through and wiped all of them out. So now that liquidity is gone and ETH is in a consolidation period, probably building up steam before it makes its next move. The positive about ETH is it's currently still above the 50 EMA, but if we're going to see ETH continue up, we want to see it break today's initial high of the day at 4,040. But in addition to that, there are some other things that we want to watch on ETH, and these things are going to help to make ETH explosive rather than just a potential short-term move to the upside. And that is the ETH BTC. So what we can see here is we are making an attempt to finally break above the 50 EMA, which is this blue one here. So we held under it for a really long time. We made one attempt that failed, and this is the second attempt that we've broken above and are currently retesting as support. As long as ETH BTC doesn't break below this blue vector right here, I would believe that it is in the process of creating a W formation. And if it does that, we would expect ETH BTC to break out next. And if it does that, at the same time ETH USDT is bullish, that's when we're going to have the explosive move that finally breaks through that weekly resistance. And I think that's what we need. So I'm not surprised that we didn't actually break and hold above it last night, because I feel like on the ETH BTC pair, there is still a little bit more work to do. In addition to that, we also want to see the ETH dominance start to turn around now. So this 12.34 was a prior support that I had marked, and we did come down there and we're having some sort of a shift out currently, but this hasn't proved a trend change yet. We are consolidating around the 50 EMA. We need to see, well, we really kind of need to see it break above that 50 EMA, you know, create a higher low, show us that we're getting a structural shift here as well. And if we can get that happening on all three, that's when we'll see an explosive ETH move. And I'm a believer that that will happen. I'm positioned in ETH in every way possible. I've been a believer even when everybody else was a non-believer and saying just wasn't going to make it this cycle. I have not given up. You've probably seen me on this channel many times tell you to look out for W formations on ETH BTC. That will be go time. And for me, nothing has changed. Now, refreshing the liquidation levels, we can see that there is a lot of liquidity that has built above price. There is also a lot of liquidity below price, and price right now is kind of right in the middle of it. So we need to really just keep an eye on the market structure to know whether it's going to break down to come for this first, or we're going to break out to the upside. When we have a look at the current limit order heat map, we can see that there are pretty high level buys below price. So currently at the time of filming, they're sitting at 39.50 and also 3900. So these are limit orders waiting for price to head down, pick up, and then they would have an expectation that we're going to head up from there. I can't see that above price, meaning there's not a huge interest in shorting ETH right now. So we should hopefully get continuation to the upside, maybe after a little bit of a retracement. But I would keep an eye on the 39 to 39.50 region if you are looking for somewhere to take a long position for a short-term day trade. That's going to be somewhere around this 15-minute time frame, 200 EMA, and also a potential retest of the initial low of the day, but not likely. More around the 200 EMAs where I would be looking for bullish confirmations in the candlesticks to open a long position. Now, last night as ETH was approaching this weekly resistance, I was actually watching the Moon Show on YouTube, and I saw someone ask in the chat why Sol wasn't also moving along with ETH. So let me explain that to you. A few weeks ago, you may remember on this channel, I showed you this formation that was happening with Solana dominance. At the time, we were in this wedge formation, and I had warned to watch out for a potential breakdown out of that wedge, which is what is happening now. In addition to this happening on the Solana dominance, Sol BTC has also been ranging for quite some time, and this is a very old area of interest that we've had marked, and we're currently moving down into that zone. Now, I actually really do have two zones for this chart. The one that you can see right now, which comes from this vector candle right here on the 20th of December 2023, but I also am keeping my eye on this one here because this is a very highly volatile candle. You can see there's a very large wick to the upside and the downside. I'm talking about this doji right here. The green one comes with high volume, high wick to the upside, high wick to the downside, very, very small body. And it was at the end of a consolidation before we ended up having this explosion to the upside. Following that, we've come into that area once, twice, and now we're here a third time. So I'm actually watching Sol BTC